fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
What up, everybody? It's your friend Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. How you doing, my fellow Coolest Geeks? What's up? Life's good over here. I'm enjoying life. I saw Aquaman the other day, and then I watched a video, which I'd love to give them credit. Just there was a YouTube channel that just sort of replenished my memory of just the history of what this DCEU first attempt has been, you know, what it's really looked like. And just as they were going through the whole thing, I just went like, this is just so fucking ridiculous. Because I look at this, I hear this breakdown, and I go, how did they not watch this transpire? Because it's 10 years now of them putting out movies, 16 movies that they've put out. And I really think that it's relatively easy to learn, you know, from the mistakes if you're properly assessing what is going on here. And by the way, that YouTube channel is called Our Movie News. They made a little like mini doc called The Downfall of the DCEU. And, you know, they go through so many things, you know, most of the things in the documentary I was aware of already. There was a thing or two that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But worth checking out. You know, I didn't really like write down all his facts, whatever. I just kind of remembered as I was going through his documentary and just kind of having so many things to say just about like how brain dead it is that DC was not able to right the ship at any point in time, looking at the writing that was on the wall from these various successes and failures. So the one thing that I want to say right from the get-go was I was actually shocked how great DC did and was doing right off the bat, like financially, with their initial movies that they released. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Aquaman. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those movies did very well. I mean, box office totals for those films, nothing is under $655 million. And that's when we get to Justice League, which demonstrates that, you know, there was a lot of problems. So the reason why I didn't remember all these movies being more successful is because they were not successful with me as an audience member. Man of Steel, for a Superman fan, was very disheartening. You know, the choice to make Kevin Costner playing Pa Kent into sort of like, I don't know, a distrusting conspiracy theorist, and not the man who taught Clark truth, justice, and the American way. The roots of that film create a Man of Steel that is very disappointing for me. The culmination of his first film being murder. He killed Zod. Like, you know, people talk about, oh, you know, Superman's killed in the comics before. Yes, he has. But the point of Superman is that he's a character who always finds a better way. Occasionally, they've chosen to make the point of a story be that there was just no other way. And, oh no. And isn't this so impactful and heavy because Superman always finds a better way, but not this time. However, that doesn't work and is not impactful unless you create a Superman defined by his ability to find a better way. When you create a Superman defined by, and he is defined by this because the climax of his film, his actions are murder. Kill this guy. That's not Superman. That's not the character that I have come to viscerally and deeply love and respect for his unflappable moral stance in the comics. I was not the only person who was really devastated by this depiction of Superman. There was many people who were. For me, this being the opening salvo of the DC universe, coming off of, Iron Man, with Marvel, which had managed to improve the character and give him more personality than he enjoyed in the comics. Or the Captain America film, which wasn't as great as I think it could have been. Because that character's great and his origin is great, and there's so many different things that they could have done to make that even better, but still does a very good job of establishing the character of Steve Rogers, who, even when he's a little scrawny guy, will stand up and get his ass kicked to do the right thing. The guy who will jump on a grenade to protect the other people. Superman's a similar type of character, but you don't get that from him when you finish Man of Steel. You don't get it from him at all. And the creative people are even in admission of this creatively. Batman versus Superman is literally Batman going, holy shit, who the fuck is this fucking crazy person with all this power? Oh my God, holy shit, somebody has to fucking protect the world from what this man can do. Look at this. The entire city of Metropolis is being destroyed. People are being killed. Oh my God. With great power comes great responsibility, and Batman has it. So movie number 2, we've got Batman answering the call to the fucking insanity that was that character in Superman. Yeah, of course the government would have some sort of fucking crazy response and all this shit with Superman behaving like this. This isn't the world of DC Comics. This isn't a world made better by superheroes. This is a world destabilized by superheroes. Man of Steel was not the best footing to begin to reveal the promise of the DC comic book universe that we were promised when they said they were going to kick off a competing DC Comics universe. We didn't think that they were going to do the version of Superman where he goes fucking nuts and he kills kills the Joker because Joker kills Lois Lane and he goes fucking crazy. Like, we didn't ask for that. That's only existed for a few years. We haven't been clamoring for that for our whole lives. There are generations of people, some of which who have lived through generations of other people who have come to love Superman and want to see Superman brought to life on the big screen. Their opening to this cinematic universe was fumbled. Completely fumbled on a lot of fundamental ways in this approach. This is a continuation of the Christopher Nolan Batman universe, which has no room for characters like Clayface or Killer Croc or things that are outside of the realm of possibility. Christopher Nolan's Batman universe, though wonderful, it's just the best depiction we've had yet of Batman, but that does not actually mean that it succeeds at showing us Batman. To this day, you guys have never seen a truly great Batman film that shows the character of Bruce Wayne that we see in the comics that hits at the level that the comic books do. Dark Knight is a very wonderful film. And as an Elseworlds tale of Batman, it is a masterpiece. but it still does not excite me or make me as happy. And I'm sure this is true for most Batman fans, like 99%. Does not make me as happy as The Long Halloween or Hush or any of the innumerable classic Batman stories. And there's so many. There's just, Batman is one of these characters that was so well defined so early on. In the 70s, Batman really got well defined to the point that anybody who was paying attention could write a great Batman story. Not if they were bringing themselves into the thing and let me inject myself into this. If they were just paying attention to the characters, what had been done with them before, how they were handled before, anybody paying attention and enjoying that could successfully go in and continue to move these balls around the court and make a hell of a game. There are so many great Batman writers because it was so good and so many people appreciated how good it was. And there are so many great Batman stories. And 99% of them don't include a love interest. And that's the big problem. One of the biggest problems with Hollywood is they fuck up Bruce Wayne's character by making his stories about his love life, which is the smallest part of his life. His life is dedicated to this war on crime. In recent years, ideas of Batman basically creating the Joker, and look, Batman, you've created the space for characters like the Joker and all these things, and you're actually attracting all of the. Oh my God, these stories are worth exploring here, there, under the right circumstances. But at the end of the day, the answer to that question has to always be no. The world is a better place because of Batman. The world is a better place because of Superman. And right out of the gate, Superman and then Batman vs. Superman is all literally just questioning whether or not the world really is any better off at all because these characters exist. And when you start your universe with a question of whether or not this is beneficial at all, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? The fall of the Western was shitty, limp dick Hollywood writers who didn't like these heroic characters because they couldn't relate to them, turning all these heroic cowboys into drunks and pieces of shit that the audience wasn't interested in. And they destroyed the Western genre. This idea of Superman, it's such a fundamental part of how they've destroyed themselves. It's such a fundamental part of how they destroyed the DC universe. It's such a fundamental part on how they framed the DC universe to not make it seem like a place where anybody would want to go. And this is the big problem. The moment you do that, you no longer have a universe. You don't have like a place that everybody wants to get involved. You have people cherry picking. If you don't want to go to the universe where all these things congeal because it doesn't really seem like a hopeful place, and it's like misery. Oh, it's misery, but the misery's gotten worse because now all of the terrible people have superpowers. Woohoo! The Boys does this successfully because it's a comedy. It's a comedy. When you think about what's going on in The Boys and you think of it seriously, you go, ugh, ugh. You just feel dirty. 20 years ago, they started injecting ideas of like, I'd read a comic and there'd be some asshole character and they'd be like, you should get a publicist, Captain Marvel. It'd be all these superficial ways of thinking, the way we do things in the shitty, superficial real world. right? In the shitty, superficial real world, we get a monster like Harvey Weinstein with Me Too, and then the shitty, stupid people in the real world use the circumstances of the Me Too movement to get rid of John Lasseter, one of the single greatest living producers of entertainment on planet Earth. And now we've got Disney, where Disney is. We don't want those sorts of superficial ideas that exist in our reality to infiltrate into the world of DC Comics or Marvel Comics. You wanted to live in the world where the Avengers existed. I don't know that anybody wants to live in a world with that kind of Superman. And the immediate assumption and baseline of everything being distrust and not inspiration. You think I'm reading Superman because I'm fucking depressed by him? Because he's making me feel like less of a man every time I read the book? Superman is filled with more humanity than most human beings will ever know. Simply because he's a purity. You say he's pure, and I believe you. He's just a drawing. I'm not reading into his energy. I'm not seeing the way he smiles or what's behind his eyes going, I don't know if I trust this actor who's playing this character. Granted, that's not much of a problem with Henry Cavill, who I think we can all tell is a pretty stand-up and cool guy. And we'll get to some of the stuff there. But I really need to... This beginning, the beginning framework of the DC Universe is everything that's fucking wrong with everything. And they tried to change this across, like along the way in various ways where they tried to change the tone while keeping the exact same basic structure, which was fucking fugazi. The world that was framed by Warner Brothers was not a world we want to visit. It's just like our world, except it sucks. It's just like our world, except it's worse. With not the greatest of fucking heroes that are making the world feel any better. You have to have a world that is inspired. You have to set up these things. Have you watched the Rocky movies? It's not just like we're inspired by Rocky automatically. We became inspired by Rocky. And then, after being inspired by Rocky, we were inspired by Rocky. The tone is set. But that tone never gets set with Man of Steel. Tone never gets set with, Suicide Squad or Batman vs. Superman. A little bit of that vibe gets set in Wonder Woman, except Wonder Woman is what? It's a fucking period piece. So it doesn't actually it seems like, oh man, wish we could go back to the 1940s where people had hope. But now today, everything that we do with all these heroes and all this shit, there's not going to be any fucking hope. It's just depressing. And then we continue into the Justice League world, and it's just a depressing and harrowing world. And, and Zack Snyder is showing us pictures of this possible dystopian future, and dude, it's some dark shit. Granted, it's good. It's not what I wanted. Not at all. It's not the DC Universe. But it was good. And an intelligent group of people might have brought this thing into a landing the right way and tried to turn a corner as they were getting the messages from the audience that they didn't exactly love what they were throwing down. And these messages to the audience, they go a little something like this. Man of Steel made $667 million with an audience score of 75%. 25% of those people were like me, and they went, say it ain't so, Superman. I mean, the movie's okay, but it's not fucking Superman. It's not Superman. And I went into it hoping to see a Superman movie. Henry Cavill, I thought, was a really good choice. I was excited. And just devastatedly disappointed. I didn't see Batman vs. Superman in the theaters. It has a 63% audience score. So we went down, 12%? It made $872 million at the box office, Batman vs. Superman. But the critics hated it even more, 29% compared to 56% on Man of Steel, and 63% audience score, right? Now, a couple things about this movie. The studio decided last minute that they needed it to be 30 minutes less long, story be damned, so that they could fit more showings at the box office. Now, considering they made $872 million at the box office, I suspect that this tactic paid off. But look what's happening here. Jesse Blaze Snider, true blue Superman fan, left the new universe, literally, with the second film. I didn't see it in theaters. I almost didn't see Suicide Squad because of what I was hearing about it. I wanted to see it so bad because I love the Suicide Squad, but I felt that the Suicide Squad was really rushed, that they should have introduced bad guys from the films. And then once they'd introduced a bunch of bad guys from the films and had bad guys that people loved, then do Suicide Squad. Introduce Captain Boomerang in The Flash. Introduce Harley Quinn in Batman. Introduce King Shark in Aquaman. Then, once you've introduced these heroes that everybody knows, then introduce the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad isn't like household name. I mean, now it is, but it wasn't a household name to people as a comic franchise. They could have waited on that one for a second. It was a real rush. And of course, you find out that in this process with Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, they liked it well enough because they didn't know they were making any mistake with the fucking being a negative universe that they were creating. They rushed right into Batman vs. Superman, and they told Scott Snyder that he needed to push things forward faster. They wanted to get into their universe and catch up to the Avengers so that they could be side by side in the same thing with Marvel. So Suicide Squad comes out, and that movie, once again, does better than Man of Steel. Not quite as good as Batman vs. Superman, but it's $748 million. But once again, David Ayer, the director of this film, is told that he needs to change a lot of things, that the tone of his film is all wrong, because when they looked at Batman vs. Superman, which had a 63% score, and Man of Steel, which had a 75% score, not ideal for, the audience isn't pleased. And what are the fans largely saying? They're saying that like the tone of this universe is like, who wants to fucking live there? Like, you should, if you had to choose between the DC universe and the Marvel universe, you'd want to live in you'd want to live in the DC universe. Like, it's filled with more heroes and more hope, and it's just like the most fucking positive thing. Like Marvel's universe has always been a little bit more rooted in reality. So now here comes along a DC universe that's like ghoulishly rooted in reality, negatively rooted in reality. Yeah, of course, the fucking fans, they're pointing out to you that this universe that you're framing up, it's not a paradise. It's nowhere we want to visit, really. So what do they take from that? They take from that, well, again, the real problem here is they cut 30 minutes out of Batman versus Superman. Additionally, they have problems like Superman hangs out in a bathtub while crime is happening, and literally it could have taken him 5 seconds to zip out of the fucking bathtub, solve that crime, and come right back to Lois Lane, and that would have been 10 times better of a fucking flex than him sitting there going, I don't have time to commit crime. What a shitty Superman we have depicted in that movie. The guy who won't fucking, stop for a second for his girlfriend's conversation. All this heavy shit. Heavy that movie is. I only watched it later when I heard that the director's cut was much better. And I watched the director's cut. Like I said, there was moments in that movie that still horrify me. But it's pretty good. It's an okay movie. Just as the Justice League director's cut, the Zack Snyder, it's a pretty good movie. It's very long, and it's not like what I'm looking for from the DC universe brought to life on the big screen. I've been waiting for years and years to see hope brought to life on the big screen. But Hollywood is incapable of hope. They're capable of destroying the Western by making all of the cowboys shitty. That's not what we were looking for. So, having destroyed the Batman versus Superman thing by trying to rush ahead to various things and get all these things in there, get additional characters in there, Wonder Woman, whatever else, and force Zack to cut 30 minutes from the movie, making it a shitty movie. Now they go, well, people aren't really liking the quality of the movies, the tone of the movie. And now they take David Ayer's very serious and heavy Suicide Squad, and they make him recut it into some sort of jovial comedy, do a lot of reshoots and whatever else, and try to get it into something that audiences might like, especially after, and this was at the time, the story that I had been told, was they made a trailer for it that they thought sold it better, just on all these characters and all this stuff, and the trailer had, I think it was like a Queen song in the background. It was a dope trailer. And it really was just playing up effervescent colors and all this shit. But the trailer did not sell the movie that had been made. And basically, then they went back in afterwards and went, well, we need this movie to be reflective of the trailer that we made. Now, despite this series, Suicide Squad, not being well known, conceptually, it's a very fucking cool idea. Basically just the government using bad guys as cannon fodder to take on top secret government missions. Great fucking idea. So, as the word spread what this was, people were interested. Plus, there's Harley Quinn's in it. There's characters from the Batman mythology and the Flash mythology. Fans of all sorts of comics might show up to see this. But we weren't exactly honored with great backstories that tied into our love for the characters and where they came from. We weren't even treated to like a accurate portrayal of the Suicide Squad to any real degree. Yes, has Rick Flag been involved in his Katana? Yeah, sure. A lot. These are characters and these are the things, but none of it played out, hit any of the notes of any of the classic books that I've read. And none of the characters were explored in any satisfying way for fans of the characters that they're generally associated with, like your Batmans or your Flashes or whatever. And what did the audience say? They said they liked this even worse than Batman versus Superman. They gave it a 58%. So 75% for Man of Steel. Again, audience isn't exactly satisfied with this, but it's a C. It looks beautiful. It's well made. 63% for Batman versus Superman, as they gutted the story and tried to force a bunch of things, a bunch of elements to add it all to compete with Marvel. 58% as they gut Suicide Squad completely and try to reinvent the tone. And what do they end up creating? They end up creating this bland version of Marvel because the universe that they have is scared of its heroes and heavy and like, oh my God, like, oh no, like everything about it is just like frightening. God complex Superman and conspiracy theory Batman. I mean, seriously, it's like a Watchmen version of The Thing and not The Thing. I'm so sad for all of you people who have never gotten the real thing. You've never gotten to experience it. It's fucking amazing. It's uplifting. Idealism on display. The day is saved by people who did the right fucking thing. We need more of that in our reality. And I believe that being somebody who grows up reading stories like that makes you somebody who wants to see those outcomes in everything you do. You know, when I made my King of Kings comic book, and I did this to my detriment, I kind of shot myself in the foot because I had overextended myself paying my friends who were working on the book, paying them, not to say top dollar, not like paying them something stupid, but paying them what was fair, not what I could afford, not what was economically feasible for my company and its growth, but what made sense for them to be able to feed their fucking families. And, that's important to me. Doing the right thing, doing it the right way. Because I've read fucking comic books and watched films and whatnot of heroic people who are willing to do that. And I'm somebody who is willing to fucking do that. I will take a little less if it means that I do it the right way. And I need more people in this world to take up that call to action. Take a little less to do it the right way. How about we all take a little less so we can do it the right way, that's sustainable, that'll make the world a better place? If more people were living like this, the world would be a better place. If more of our stories were told in this way, more people would be influenced. More people would see that that way exists. There are so many people who live in these small little worlds where they're just constantly being berated and attacked in one way or another, pushed down on, not treated the way they should be. And it's not until they see a movie or read a book or something that the idea that things could be better is introduced to them that they go, hey, wait a second. I want more. I want better. I want to live in that world. And this is the responsibility that you've been given, Warner Brothers. Owning Superman and The Flash and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and Batman and Aquaman and Animal Man, the Justice Society, the Teen Titans. You have a responsibility to proliferate the ideas that are at the foundation of these characters. And that is making the world a better place. Not showing up, getting dressed up, looking good, and beating people up. Making the world a better place for you and I. That's what the promise of the world of the superhero holds. A better world than we are currently living in today. After 3 failed attempts, so you got 2013's Man of Steel, 2016's Batman vs. Superman, 2016 Suicide Squad, 2017 now, we get Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is actually pretty great. The only thing about Wonder Woman that sucks is the fucking ending. And guess what? That's the studio. The studio changed the ending. The crazy ending with him becoming Magneto and not fucking using his magnet powers to freaking pull her freaking gauntlets closer to him. That stupid end scene where Ares shows up. Ares was never supposed to show up. Wasn't supposed to end like that. And they basically promised Patty Jenkins until like the very end, like, oh, well, we'll get to the end. We'll see, if you sell it to us kind of thing. If we like it, we'll go. But they never intended, they always intended to make this change, and they changed the ending. And what's the worst part of Wonder Woman? The part they fucking changed. You want to know why most pop music and music that you hear on the radio is so shitty? Because they poke holes in it. They'll write a song, they'll record a song, and then that song gets played around to all these freaking A&R people, right? And these people, they give you notes just so that they can prove that they deserve to have a job. So even if it's good, they're like, well, this is my note, and that's my note. And the notes will be, he says he feels like a little girl in this line. But people might think that sounds gay. Change that. He feels like a little boy. Okay, so now the guy goes back and he has to re-record that line. He doesn't re-record the song all done because they've produced this song. The whole fucking record is produced to show it to the producers in the first place. So now he goes and he records just that one line. And he records that one line going, man, I like the line that we wrote. I don't really agree with this arbitrary change that was handed down to me from producers. I don't think it's going to be good. It's not as good as the line I wrote. And now they sing it. And they sing it and their heart actually holds less good energy and less passion for the line. This happens to a dozen different lines in every freaking pop song. A bunch of arbitrary changes that get made because the executive was like, meh, 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 or change this guitar lick or that. Before you know it, a piece that was made of passion from a bunch of musicians who felt strongly about the things that they were saying and the chords they were putting down is mangled into something that pleases the executives. And then you hear that. And I'll tell you what you think when you hear that. You go, oh, man, so uninspired. Yeah, Swiss cheese isn't as inspired as something that is, not full of holes. These things, when you take 30 minutes out of Batman versus Superman, story be damned, like you're really fucking things up here. So what do we get? We get Wonder Woman, which is, pretty universally loved. I won't say for me that Wonder Woman is a movie that I've gone back and rewatched a lot. I haven't rewatched Captain America, the First Avenger a lot either, a little bit more. But I think the movie was kind of serviceable. It made $817 million, so it did better than Suicide Squad. Not as good as Batman vs. Superman, better than Man of Steel. 83% of the audience liked it, so this is the first time the audience actually responds positively. And this one has a lighter tone. It's a little bit more of a Marvel tone, right? So they're like, Marvel tone works, right? 83%. Now they've got Justice League. And behind the scenes, they're knowing that things are like lighter. They're telling Zach, they want a little bit of a lighter tone. They won't let him do a thing or two. There was apparently a storyline that Zach wanted to do that freaking Lois Lane having Bruce Wayne's baby. I would not have been a fan of that. Like, if there's anything major and it's never been done in the comics, what are you doing? Like, shut the fuck up. Who the fuck are you to test the waters for this new thing when they haven't even successfully done any of the great things that have been done in the comics in the films? You have yet to show us fucking Dick Grayson getting fed up with Batman and fucking going off to be his own guy. You have yet to show us Jason Todd being beat to death by a crowbar by the Joker. Or I should say, the Joker in the warehouse with the crowbar. You have yet to show us Tim Drake investigating who Batman is and figuring out that it's Bruce Wayne and telling him, you need a Robin. There are so many classic stories. You have yet to shoot Barbara Gordon in the fucking spine. And you have yet to show us how even more valuable her mind was to the superhero community than her body ever was. That she demonstrated the power of the human mind to make a difference. There are so many classic, brilliant, wonderful stories that you could tell. I mean, just put For the Man Who Has Everything on the big screen. And if you don't know the story, The Man Who Has Everything, it's just this little story that Alan Moore wrote where Batman and Wonder Woman go to visit Superman at the Fortress of Solitude. And when they get there, he's in the thralls of this plant. There's something Mercies or something like that, that basically connect to your mind, and they give you what you've always wanted. Whatever it is that you most want that would make you most happy, they give it to you. And I won't spoil the whole story, but throughout this story, multiple times, these heroic characters have to give up and walk away from what they would most want out of life in order to do the right thing, to do the heroic thing. Beautiful fucking story by Alan Moore. Such a great one. There's so many classic stories. Who are you? What are you doing trying to introduce something like Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane having a baby in the films? I could tell you we wouldn't like that under any circumstances. It would make us all feel fucking icky. Icky, icky, icky. It's a lot like Batman having sex with Barbara Gordon in the Batman Killing Joke animated film they made. What a disgusting fucking choice. That's his friend's daughter. That's his friend's young and impressionable daughter. A responsible man knows that he has a responsibility to the youth, to people who are significantly younger than him. Not to fucking use that for sex. And what does that say about Batman? What his priorities are? Ugh. I fucking hate that damn animated movie. Anyway, Justice League, it basically gets destroyed by a tragedy that befalls Zack Snyder. Because he was supposed to bring this thing to an end, and it probably would have gotten screwed up the same way Batman versus Superman got screwed up. But instead, he has to walk away from the production after everything is shot. And then Warner Brothers goes, ooh, this is our chance. They kind of play it like, oh, not everything's been shot, even though it had. And they bring in Joss Whedon to completely rewrite the show and reframe the movie and tell it in a more Marvel Universe-y sort of way. Now, there's lots of stories that came from behind the scenes because of the cyborg actor Ray Fisher. He was really pounding the pavement talking about not being treated very well by Joss. Well, let me give you a little behind the scenes here. And I wasn't there, so I don't fucking know for sure. But I'm a pretty savvy motherfucker, so I'm telling you what I think happened. What I think happened was these people had been working with with Zack Snyder for a while now. Zack had given them, laid out who their characters were, the future. Zack was supposed to be the god of the DC universe who was like figuring all this shit out. And he was talking to all these actors and he was telling them who they were going to be, and they were fleshing out their characters and they were figuring it out over an extensive period of time. It took a long time from Man of Steel getting greenlit and Justice League. I mean, I'm sure these people were cast for a long time. There was lots of different versions of the script and blah, 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 blah. They're going through this process with Zack. Now, all of a sudden, they get handed a bunch of scripts and the tone is completely different. And they're like, where does this scene go? And this conflicts with this, and that conflicts with that, and this, and they've got questions. And they're just actors showing up to shoot these things, and the studio and Joss, who are like, we don't have fucking time to be answering all these questions. We need to reshoot half this movie. I need these people to just be in fucking cooperation. So instead of usual thing where he's a director befriending his actors and getting cozy with everybody so he can do the thing, he just becomes a fucking drill sergeant going, just do what I fucking say, 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 just do what I fucking say. Which is, to some degree, I mean, you know, and I don't know how the motherfucker handled this, but to some degree is a little understandable if those were the circumstances, and those seem to be inescapably the circumstances. What else would the circumstances be? They had worked with Zack for years and years and years. Zack's going through a fucking tragedy. All of a sudden, they come in to do this movie. If they talk to Zack, Zack probably says, yeah, I'm a little pissed off. They've been pushing me in this direction, in that direction, whatever, and now they're using this fucking tragedy that I've had as an excuse to go and switch up all this shit. I don't think that Zack Snyder was a good choice for the DC universe on film. I don't think that he... he's in interviews talking about how he doesn't understand Superman, was never a big fan of Superman. Superman is the DC universe. He is what everything is framed around. You must get Superman right in order to get everything else right, because Superman has been published as a periodical for many, many, many decades now. And he has always been there alongside other characters. Batman, Superman. Batman's the dark, Superman's the light. And then the other books, they represent different character traits, different personalities that aren't exactly covered by Superman or Batman. They dance between the raindrops that are Superman and Batman. If you make Superman like Batman, you literally fuck up every dynamic that has been created with Superman. And you fuck up the Superman-Batman dynamic. The light and the dark. They can't both be the fucking dark. They can't both be badasses. Riggs is the badass in fucking Lethal Weapon. Murtaugh is the straight man. You know, and two people can be funny, but they have to carry different areas of the thing. Batman and Superman carry different areas of the thing. The best Justice Leagues aren't filled with Barry Allen and Hal Jordan because those guys don't necessarily work best with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. The work best with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent is Wally West, maybe a Jon Stewart or a Kyle Rayner. They work better. It's all about the characters and their relationships. And if you don't get Superman, who is the centerpiece of the DC universe, correct, you're fucked. And they were fucked from the beginning here. But at any point in time, all they had to do was steer the ship back to the right place with Superman, and that's been for them to do. And I'm gonna like wrap up this episode. Well, I'm not wrapping up yet, but wrapping up this episode later. I'm gonna talk about what really they should have done right here instead of what they've been doing. Justice League comes out. Whedon has put his fingerprints all over it. The fucking story doesn't make any freaking sense. It's cut down to the length of time that Warner Brothers wants it. They spend $300 million on this movie. Prior to that, Batman vs. Superman cost them $263 million. $300 million they spent on this movie. They make $655 million. Less than Man of Steel, less than Batman vs. Superman, less than Suicide Squad, less than Wonder Woman. $655. The critic score, not quite as bad as Suicide Squad and Batman vs. Superman at 39%, but the audience is basically 67%. The audience doesn't like it either. They don't like it either. 67%. Batman vs. Superman had 63. Man of Steel, where we started, had 75. Wonder Woman, which has a feel of kind of the Marvel Universe, especially because it's a period piece, is at 83. So, what do these stupid motherfuckers learn? They learn, we got to like the tone or whatever. And they were already working on like a whole tonal shift. They had Wonder Woman and they had the thing right. And now they got Aquaman. And now Aquaman's funny because Aquaman makes the most money. The most money of any of these movies in 2018. It makes $1.1 billion at the box office. And it's got a 73% audience score. And honestly, I feel like Wonder Woman and Aquaman are the 1-2 punches that broke the DC universe. There are a number of other factors. Like it was clear that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing and they were rejiggering. But Wonder Woman and Aquaman were the best that the DC universe had to offer. And I guess Man of Steel, even though again, massively disappointing tonally to the fans. The Aquaman movie, 73% versus 83% for Wonder Woman. Like, meh. Like just think about that. $1.1 billion at the box office. A lot more people saw Aquaman than had necessarily seen all the other movies. So this audience that like, I hadn't seen any of the other movies yet, but I don't know. I guess I'll see Aquaman. He seems, I like Jason Momoa. And they see that movie and they go, meh. Because if the diminishing returns of the box office totals that occur after this are any indication, I mean, like it's been massively downward ever since. And to some degree, if Aquaman 2 had been some massive success, and I know we got Amber Heard and we got the end of the universe, whatever, it made $1.1 billion. Everybody thought Avatar 2 was going to fucking fail. But it made billions of dollars, and it made billions of dollars a second time. Because there was some foundational thing that people were getting into here. Aquaman made $1.1 billion. And then granted, the new movie's not done, and the new movie is going to do better. I mean, worldwide already, it's made $337 million. So, I mean, I think there's a good chance, I don't know, it could end up at least $400 million, which isn't too, but that's not even half of what it made. $1.1 billion. And I really feel like that was just an advertisement to everybody else that the DC universe just wasn't that good. And, not particularly, no need to rush out and see this shit. So I'll go through these next ones a bit faster. In 2019, you get Shazam, which is great. I love Shazam. I watch Shazam with my kids a lot. Shazam is a favorite character of mine from the comics. Shazam, when he's being done well, is awesome. And Zachary Levi, oh my God, he's awesome. Love Zachary Levi. Even though him and his counterpart, his youthful counterpart, they don't act anything like each other. But I thought Shazam was really great. The sequel was similarly enjoyable, but generally I didn't enjoy as much. But certainly I think that there's room in this world for that franchise more so than most of the shit on this list. Shazam's really great. If you haven't seen Shazam, it's a fun movie. Check it out. It got an 82% audience score, only 1% less than Wonder Woman. So it's the second best rated in the DC universe, and I like it better than Wonder Woman. It's just fun, and it's sweet, and it's about kids and stuff, and it's a really, really good one. I watch that with my kids all the time. But it only made $363 million. Thank God it had a really tiny budget of $85 million. So, it still was a success. But unfortunately, nobody went to go check it out. And I know, okay, Shazam's not on the Justice League, whatever. There's a Superman cameo at the end, but, you don't see his face and stuff. So there's some weird things going on there. But still, Shazam, $363 million. And now this is the new bar. Everything stays in this area from this moment out. The lowest grossing film from the previous, from all the previous Justice League movie, not all the previous Justice League, but all the previous superhero movies was Justice League with 655, and second lowest was 667, The Man of Steel, right? So 655. We're not going to get near those numbers after Aquaman. After Aquaman, we don't get near those numbers again. I don't understand this. I don't understand how they have a $1.1 billion success that doesn't lead to any continuing success in their universe. Not even for its own sequel. So Shazam, 363, even though it's really well reviewed. Birds of Prey doesn't get fucking hated on as much as some of these films, and Birds of Prey is fucking awful. If you're a fan of Birds of Prey, the comic book, if you're a fan of Cassandra Cain Batgirl, if you're a fan of Huntress, if you're a fan of these characters, fucking hate Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey now makes even less, $201 million. And for the first time ever, the critics and the audience agrees that it's a middling 70, right? Then you got Wonder Woman 1984 coming out. Granted, there's things of the pandemic and stuff that start to take effect here, but there are plenty of movies that did perfectly fine during this time, and DC did not have them. Wonder Woman 1984. So the sequel to Wonder Woman, which made $817 million, made $170 million. When you look at the downloads and stuff on HBO Max and stuff, really, this movie did very badly. And the audience did not think it was very good. It got that same 73% of Aquaman, even though it did not deserve that. It was a really just fucking shitty movie. 1984. I barely remember it. I just remember watching it the whole time going, this? Fuck. So then we got Zack Snyder's Justice League with 94% audience score and a 71% critic score. Now that's from a 67% audience score to a 94%. This movie was a 4-part, 3-hour-long movie or something like that. I don't even remember. Friggin' long-ass movie. So, I mean, a not really plausible version of the Justice League that was never going to be on screen like that. But it was cool. It showed that the fans were generally into so much of the things that were happening with this universe and pieces that were being put on the board and different things. So all of these basic pieces can still be continued with in a universe with a little bit of a different tone. And it has to be established. And again, I'm going to save this for my end rant. But you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If people are interested in some of these storylines and these things, and you're seeing like because it's going to be harder to go back and do some of these beats again now that you've wasted them. I mean, and maybe you can, but again, they put out the Zack Snyder Justice League thing because they had a streaming platform that they needed to promote. And the streaming platform was helped greatly by this thing. But at the same time, it makes the executives look bad, even though the executives that made the decisions to fuck up Justice League were no longer the same executives who were doing this thing here when they released it at the same time. But all of this demonstrates that the audience might have carried over to Batman versus Superman, even though it was a darker tone, even though it wasn't the freaking DC universe that we wanted, that we were asking for. It was there was quality there. And then Suicide Squad got gutted in this way, and Wonder Woman's ending got fucking killed, and Justice League got gutted in this way, and Aquaman's just because they're just trying to copy a formula. I mean, Shazam's not the greatest freaking movie of all time, but it is a movie that I really do enjoy, and I watch multiple times with my kids, and I think it has a lot to offer. But Birds of Prey, ugh. Wonder Woman 1984, ugh. Now, from the repudiation of some of the things that they've done, they've brought in a new filmmaker. We've got the Suicide Squad, the sequel by freaking James Gunn. And now James Gunn's Suicide Squad makes $167 million. James Gunn's movie cost $185 million. It made $167 million. Holy shit. A $185 million movie that made $167 million. David Ayer's Suicide Squad made $745 million and considered a massive flop. And it was, because it was terrible. The audience didn't like it. But it still made $745 million. Meanwhile, James Gunn's loses $10 million, but it's got an 82% audience score. 82%? I mean, like, I'd have wanted more. I'd have wanted a lot more than an 82% audience score on this thing. So now we go from Zack Snyder's tone, which is all wrong for the DC universe, but the tone was kind of getting changed. Now we've changed into a fucking James Gunn tone, kind of Marvel Universe, I guess, tone. And 82%. And nobody saw it. Now we got Black Adam. Black Adam did most respectably out of all these things, doing most respectably in rentals as well. Got $393 million. $393 million. So that's better than Shazam. And I'll tell you this right now, and I'm thinking about doing an episode all on how The Rock is a pussy for not fucking going toe-to-toe with Zachary Levi, and I think it's his ego, because Zachary Levi is ready for prime time. Zachary Levi has never been given the opportunities that he really deserves. He is such a charming, brilliant actor, proved by his role in Shazam, proved by many roles that he's had, proved by his role as Flynn Rider in Tangled. It's a classic. It's a classic because of him. He is a big part of why that film is so classic. And I think The Rock is a fucking pussy. I really do. I think I want to do a whole episode on Saturday. Just kind of like, and I like The Rock and shit, but seriously, this sort of like egoic bullshit behavior, or I'm not going to fucking lift up my other buddy. Like, fuck you, man. Seriously. Shazam and Black Adam are the thing. I don't give a shit about you fighting Superman until you fight Shazam. Fucking establish yourself, humble yourself a little bit to this system, and don't be threatened by somebody who is just as fucking charming as you and clearly just as capable of getting athletic as you. Yeah, Zachary Levi, looking as fucking beefy as can be and being just as fucking charming as somebody like The Rock. I feel like dude is intimidated because why? Why would you not do this? Why would you not, like, how do you not lend your star power to that other bit of star power? How do you not see that The Rock and Zachary Levi together could be magic? I think it's ego. I'm going to talk about it more this weekend. So you get Black Adam and Shazam 2, ruined by ego. Shazam 2 only makes $125 million, unfortunately. Sorry, that's not true. $132 million, unfortunately. Does not do as well as its sequel. It wasn't as good as its sequel, even though the audience did give it an 86. An 86%. And it got an 82 on the first one. So the audience liked this one even better. And it didn't do as well. I mean, Shazam really got the fucking short end of the stick. Shazam was one of the best superhero movies made in the past few years. It's great. It's heroic, cool, kids, really like awesome. And now Shazam 2, though, is also fucked by the fact that because of The Rock overextending himself and making them spend all this money and throwing his weight around and having Henry Cavill come and that ending up fucking being like freaking dirt on their face and being an embarrassment, they ended the Zack Snyder DCEU. This is the mortuary. We're talking about it. It's dead. It's gone. There's a few pulses of Aquaman left before this new thing comes along. So now they gutted Black Adam and they not Black Adam. They gutted Shazam 2 by having it be a part of this dead universe that's being continued by James Gunn. And James Gunn's Suicide Squad had like some like decent word of mouth or whatever, but Peacemaker became a bigger deal. But Peacemaker became a bigger deal on a much smaller audience. A much smaller audience saw that and said, "Oh, I liked it. I like Peacemaker." It's nothing to do with the fucking comics. It's got nothing to do with DC Universe, whatever. Like, it's not bringing to life anything that I want to see. Now, meanwhile, The Flash and like all these things, it was supposed to be apparently leading maybe to like a Crisis on Infinite Earths thing. This was apparently planned by Walter Hamada. So many of these things got taken off the board because somewhere along the way they were supposed to have a Batgirl movie. They were supposed to have a few movies in place that basically were going to replace the big three of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman and make it Supergirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Woman, which I tell you right now, there's no demand for that. And the women were not going to show up. Maybe some of the men would, because we like women. But that wasn't going to happen. That was the failed path for the DC universe on film. So instead, we get the Flash cut all sorts of things out, ends up just sort of ending in like a conundrum. They've got freaking George Clooney gets out of the minivan at the end. George Clooney Batman's. It was like storylines that are never going to be resolved in any way, shape, or form, and who gives a shit. The Flash, on a budget of $200 million, made $266 million. I think that The Flash was probably a lot more expensive than that. The Flash got an 83%. I mean, it's crazy. The audience scores for the first movies they did: 75%, 63%, 58%, 83%, 67%, 73%, 82% for Shazam, right? Now, after coming off of Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman, which sucked, 78 and 73%, you've got 94%, 82%, 88%, 86%, 93%, 91%. 91% for Blue Beetle. 83% for The Flash, 86% for Shazam 2, 88% for Black Adam, 82% for The Suicide Squad, and 94% for Zack Snyder's Justice League. This whole endeavor here was just riddled with panic. It's such a good example of the way decision-making happens in these creative companies. Because most of these people, they're business people. Creative people do creative things. Business people do business things. Business people, they don't tend to have really good taste. Often, ones who do have really good taste, they don't trust their taste. Because, who can predict the market? Who can predict the audience? All these things. But you can. You can. It's so fucking easy. When you're not honoring the thing from the ground up, oh yeah, you got to run around like a chicken with your head cut off all the time trying to fix the problems that have been created from you foundationally not getting it right. You didn't get it right. You fucking blew it. You blew the DC universe from the very beginning. Despite that, your audience loves this material so much that they've been putting up with your shit. And they have very clearly given you a few green lights. They've said, we like this cast. We like Henry Cavill. We like Ben Affleck. We don't like the universe. We don't like the tone. It's so heavy. We want this to be optimistic. You've got actors like Henry Cavill speaking publicly about wanting to bring that to the fans, wanting to show the fans that light side of the universe and of the character of Superman, and to properly establish that character in the DC universe, the linchpin of the DC universe. You can still do it right now. If this Superman Legacy movie is not this old school tale of Superman growing up, then why recast? We like Henry Cavill. If you're putting him into the universe with more new heroes and more things like that's stupid. To a certain degree, if you wanted to do this like Superman Legacy thing, you could have made it a brother project, sister project to the Batman. Here's the Batman doing year one thing. Here's the Superman doing Superman year one. That could be a thing. But we're just going to revamp and reestablish Superman with a title like Superman Legacy. And I'm so worried about James Gunn's Superman movie. I mean, it's just insane to me. I think it's very clear that we would have liked to have Henry Cavill here. I think very easily you could have written the ship at any time, righted the ship at any time, by making a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie or doing something similar. And, and there's so many movies that aren't part of this DC cinematic universe that DC could go back to explore just for a moment for the DC cinematic, trying to do something new and get us somewhere. I think that the audience has been very clear about what we didn't like about the universe and about the characters. Man of Steel, he kills Zod. The heaviness, darkness of universe, the distrust, no hope, no optimism. You've gotten it at certain points, which demonstrates to me that you got the message. You definitely got the message about how the audience liked Henry Cavill. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say to you, Warner Brothers. I think that these 16 movies, it's 16 with Aquaman 2, and Aquaman 2 did, again, obliterate the Marvels. So even, DC at the box office, like at its worst, it is still kicking ass and taking names compared to the bad Marvel shit that's happening right now. They're in the end, they're kicking Marvel's ass in mediocrity. DC's mediocrity is better liked than Marvel's mediocrity. But this is 16 movies over 10 years. I could fucking turn this ship around. I could get this thing crack-a-lacking. You could be making billions and billions of dollars tomorrow with somebody like me helping you to make the decisions of what to do here. It's not that hard. And you guys are just like, I mean, Warner Brothers in particular, it's just like, because I know some of you guys are probably going, well, yeah, man, but there was a lot of things. Yeah, there are a lot of things because they're this fucking stupid. Because this is Hollywood at its worst. Warner Brothers represents the height, the pinnacle of the stupid Hollywood system. I have a brother who has been fucking kicked around by this company and so many of the companies the same way I've been kicked around by all the fucking major comic book producing companies, because they don't care about us, the creative people. Even though we can help, we're the ones who make them look good and we can help to make them look better. Everybody's just more concerned about their own jobs and trying to keep their jobs. And like seriously, the landscape is so volatile. You know, nobody feels safe to make art and make these things. And we are lucky every single time we get anything that's half decent. We are. It's fucking crazy how this system works against itself, and that like good things happen despite how stupid everything is laid out. So, all right, I think I've talked about this enough. I've gone a little over my usual hour, but thank you for joining me on this journey of the history of this thing, this postmortem. It really is just a shame that they can't get somebody in-house at Warner Brothers who is able to look at this 10 years of data that they have and maybe paint a little bit of a picture for themselves about what they need to do, what they should be doing. James Gunn just selecting all of the projects that he would like to work on at random is not the thing. You want to build a universe, you want to build the possibility of something. I should see in the things that you're introducing the possibility of combining them together in the future in various ways that would be fun based on stories that I've read because I'm a fan and I know. If you can't look at all the material and go, all right, give me this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and we'll build towards this, then you are not the right fucking executive to be working on the DC films. Sorry. Clearly you're not. I think you like to do what you like to do, and I understand that. You know, you're a brilliant creative person, James Gunn. You really are. I wish I could just see you continue to make your own films. I like a lot of James Gunn individual films. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy is great too. You know, if you can bring the thing to the other things and make it great in honor of that thing, and in some cases you've done that, in other cases you didn't even try. You know, with a character like, let's say, Mantis, or a character like Adam Warlock. I mean, that's not the thing that I asked for. You know, it's not like, oh man, Adam Warlock was in a movie. Like, no. Not at all. Dude, did you see Guardians of fucking Adam Warlock? I'm like, no. I saw Guardians 3. Yeah, there's a guy in there. They called him Adam Warlock, I guess. So yeah. So DC, I don't know. I feel like we're going to get a lot more of that. It's going to be a lot more of that. And I think the answers here are very fucking easy, and you don't need to bring in a creative dynamo like freaking James Gunn. You need to just bring in somebody who is fucking paying attention. That's it. Somebody who's paying attention. And then hire credible people to do credible work, executing the stories as they have been laid out for you in all their fucking glory, in the thousands and thousands of DC comic books that have sold millions of copies over the years, because they stand the test of time. DC, there's just too many great stories, too many great creators that you are just ignoring to do your own stupid thing. And if the past 10 years has said anything about what the next 10 years will be, it's It's going to be funny. And you're going to help me put my kids through college, I think. So anyway, I'll just keep laughing at your stupid choices, and you can just keep making them. Well, that's it, Coolest Geeks. I'm your passionate geek culture commentator, Jesse Blaze Snider. Write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. I love you all so much. I do. I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you for listening to my show. I have a new show. Every Monday I do a music show called All Your Favorite Bands Suck. It's basically just my own list of my favorite bands that I don't think get enough respect. Last week's episode was about Motorhead. Weeks before that was about 50 Cent and G-Unit. So you never know what you're going to get on All Your Favorite Bands Suck. It's every Monday. And, of course, our show here is every Wednesday. And I hope you'll join me again next Wednesday and this coming Saturday for another incredible episode of The Coolest Geek Alive. See you later. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Week after weeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Laughing with you! It's gonna be fucking awesome! And crying sometimes too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Spelling it out! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Making you shout! It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living the shit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.